بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. I hope that everyone had opportunity to benefit from the programs for commemoration of the event of Karbala, and we thought to give more chance to brothers and sisters in the group to benefit from these majalis, so it might be good not to have it last week. So this is why we had 1 week off. So now we resume our discussion of 40 Hadiths, and as you remember, we were talking about ghiba, about backbiting. The late Imam Khomeini says, based on the hadith that we mentioned the last session, especially from the hadith that Abu Dhar had narrated from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it seems that qasdul intiqas is a condition. What does it mean? It means the intention of bringing down and lowering the position of the person that someone is backbiting. So if someone, for example, says something, but for example, the brother doesn't want to be said, but it's a good thing, or for example, at least this person doesn't have the bad intention of lowering down, it might not be technically ghiba. Maybe there are other problems with it, like disclosing someone's secret. That's another issue, and we will talk about it. Again, I repeat that this is a very important moral, at the same time fiqh issue, and we should follow our marja or do ihtiyat. So for example, if one marja says that without the intention of lowering down, this is not ghiba, it doesn't mean that it may be applicable to you, because maybe your marja actually says this is not needed. So the best thing is leave it all together, unless, for example, you are sure that your marja says okay, but even at that time, at least moral is better to leave it, because if he doesn't say you should do it, the maximum he says that it is not proved to be haram, and therefore, for example, he may give you permission based on aslul bara'ah. So this is one point. Another point is that, is it necessary to be mentioning verbally? Because we say dhikruka means to mention. He says, Imam Khomeini says, no. There is a famous hadith that Aisha quotes from the Prophet. Actually, she talks about herself and what the Prophet told her. And from this we can understand that it's not necessary to be something which is said, because she didn't say anything about that lady. She pointed with her hand and was a gesture by hand. Let's see the riwayah. She says, دخلت علينا امرأة. A lady visited us. فلما ظلت. When she left, so she turned back and she was leaving or left. أومأت بيدي أنها قصيرة. Then with my hand I pointed So it means I showed with my hand, for example, that she is short. Somehow with hand I showed that she is short. Then Rasulullah said, اغتبتها. You have committed riba with respect to this woman. So she didn't say anything, but it doesn't need to be said. So dhikr includes also any kind of indication, even it can be by gesture, sometimes by your face gestures, you can, by eyes, you may show something by hand. Then he says from itlaq. Those of you who are familiar with usul al-fiqh, in usul al-fiqh we have two types of generality. We have umum and we have itlaq. Umum is when generality is understood from a linguistic indicator. For example, there is called jam with alif lam and so on and so forth. Itlaq is that there is no linguistic indication of generality, but from muqaddamatul hikmah, from the prerequisite of wisdom, we realize that it is meant to be general. Otherwise, they would have mentioned the details. For example, when the lawmaker says, أعتق رقبة, free a slave, and doesn't say رقبة مؤمنة, doesn't mention the detail or a condition. So we can realize that it is meant to be general. If he had said أعتق أية رقبة, this was umum, because أية shows that it is general. But أعتق رقبة, and there is nothing to indicate that this is general, but we say, based on requirements of wisdom, that if the speaker had meant a specific type of slave to be freed, and he was able to say it, and he didn't say it, so it means that he didn't mean it. Otherwise, he should have said it. So, from itlaq of many hadiths, we can realize that disclosing secrets of mu'mineen, it's haram. Whether it is something that it is related to their body or action or traits of character. We should not disclose secrets of mu'mineen. And it doesn't also make any difference whether you have intention of harming that person's reputation or you don't have intention. You should not do this. Even sometimes if the person is happy, still you shouldn't do it. Why? Because there are things that no one, even the person himself, has the right to publicize. For example, if someone in the past or now has committed a sin or is committing a sin, maybe he doesn't bother, but we should not disclose it. So, as long as people don't know, if someone is mutajahir bil fisq, he does things publicly, that's different. But someone has done something in the past and we don't know, and another person knows, he shouldn't tell us. Even if that person says, I don't mind, you can tell him, no, you should not say it. So, this is a different title. Ghiba is one title for hurma, for prohibition. Disclosing secrets of believers is another title for hurma. So this is something that we have to be careful. Maybe something from one aspect falls under ghiba, and from another aspect falls under another category. Then there can be two reasons for hurma. Sometimes it's not ghiba, but it's another reason for hurma. So it's not that when we say something technically is not ghiba, it's definitely not haram. You have to be careful. There are many, many titles for hurma. that may apply to what we do or what we say with respect to other people. At the end of the session today, inshallah, we will again mention this. So we enter a new chapter, and here Imam Khomeini says that the prohibition of riba is something which is agreed on and is ijma'i. So it's something that by consensus is established in our fiqh, and it's one of the zaruriyat actually. Means it's very evident and obvious. It doesn't even need to argue for it. And it's one of the major sins. So no doubt about it. Yes, details, of course, can be discussed. So instead of trying to prove its prohibition, he says, let's focus here on bad outcomes and dangerous consequences of this major sin, so that inshallah by reflecting on them, we would not commit riba, and if God forbids we commit riba, we quickly repent and try to restore the damage. So it's very important just not to be aware that it is haram, to keep thinking and reminding ourselves, so that inshallah we create a kind of immunity in ourselves with respect to backbiting people. One of the things that we should remember, and it is very much highlighted in our hadith, is that riba, like any action, has a malakuti face, malakuti appearance. So, for example, when the veil is removed from before our eyes, when we can see things in their real face, which is appearing on the Day of Judgment, for example, or even now people may be able to see it, in their otherworldly appearance, which is their main appearance, because dunya is a kind of lower presentation of the things for the people who are in dunya. Riba is, like many other things, appearing in the way that is very worrying. So the sins, when they are seen in their true face, would be very, very ugly, and unfortunately, because we cannot see that, so our intellectual understanding may not stop us. For example, according to Quran, riba is eating the flesh of our dead brother or sister. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. None of you should backbite the others. Do you like to eat? Or does the person who does backbiting, does anyone like to eat the flesh of his dead brother? You don't like it. So riba is the same, maybe even worse, because this is a worldly thing that we have to mention as an analogy, and for sure eating the flesh of a dead person in malakut is much worse than eating the same thing in dunya. Anything there, whether positive or negative, is much stronger than dunya. So we are not exaggerating. We are actually simplifying the issue so that people can understand. Otherwise, the way Allah and Ahlul Bayt are trying to ask is just to make something great, very simple for our understanding. Sometimes they are mentioned also in, riba is mentioned in other ways, using different analogies, or when I say analogy, I don't want to say that it's not reality. I'm saying that the reality is much greater than this. For example, there is a hadith from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that a person who had committed fornication or adultery was punished, executed. And then a Muslim told his friend, this person was killed like a dog. So he insulted a sinner who received his punishment. You cannot insult even a person who is going to be punished or who is punished. Even a person who is going to be executed justly and under right judiciary system, still his respect, her respect has to be maintained. Anyway, these people unfortunately didn't observe respect for that person, and they said he is killed like a dog. So once Rasulullah was walking with them, or somehow anyway moving, and they passed by a jifa, but a dead animal. And Rasulullah said, eat from this. They said, oh Messenger of God, how can we eat from a dead animal? Rasulullah said, what you did with respect to your brother is more ugly and more disliked than this. It's more, it's dirtier, more dirty than this. Ma asabtuma min akhikuma antanu min hadhi. It's worse and it smells worse than this. So this shows that it's like a dead animal that is, for example, eaten. So it's sometimes a brother, sometimes it's animal, and sometimes it can be other forms. So we have to be very, very much mindful of these expressions, so that inshallah we create a kind of immunity and protection, so that we don't even go near riba, inshallah. There is a hadith in Majalis by Sheikh Saduq rahmatullah alayh from Amir al-Mu'minin salam, that he said to Nawfal Bukhari, اجتنب الغيبة فإنها إدام كلاب النار. Avoid backbiting, because this is the food. It's like a curry, something that they put bread or something inside rice. It is edam. It's, we in Farsi we say khoresh, like curry. It's for the dogs of the hell. So here riba is likened to the food of dog. So there are different analogies used, and Imam Khomeini says that it is possible that something in the hereafter has different forms. In dunya, for example, something is either flesh, or it's, for example, bread, or it's stone. But in the hereafter, something can have different forms together, and it's more a matter of fa'il. It's the matter of the doer that can give different forms to the same thing. Or if, for example, suppose in dunya, either something is a monkey or a donkey or a dog or a pig. But in akhirah, we can have a person who is monkey and donkey and dog and pig. It's possible. Why? Because this person has qualities that are qualities of these animals at the same time. Like a person who suffers from different bad traits of character. So don't be surprised if in our hadith we have different analogies to explain the reality of riba in the hereafter. Again, Sheikh Saduq in Iqab al-A'mal quotes from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That one was from Amir al-Mu'minin, but it was Sheikh Saduq. Again, Sheikh Saduq quotes a hadith, but it's from Rasulullah. It says, وَمَنْ مَشَى فِي غِيبَةِ أَخِيهِ وَكَشْفَ عَوْرَتِهِ. The one who walks, for example, goes to a meeting, goes to meet someone to do ghibah, and kashf awrati, to disclose something confidential, something which is not supposed to be known by other people. Awra is not a physical part of the body which is private. Awra is more general, means something that is to be kept confidential and private. كانت أول خطوة خطاها وضعها في جهنم. The first step that he takes puts him in hell. Imagine then the next steps just put him deeper and deeper in the hell. وَكَشَفَ اللَّهُ عَوْرَتَهُ عَلَى رُؤُوسِ الْخَلَائِقِ. And it would also lead to his own secret weaknesses and problems be disclosed to people. This is one of the rules of this world, that if someone discloses secrets of other people, he would himself be exposed. In Wasa'il al-Shia, there is a hadith from Imam Sadiq quoting Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, says, "Man ightaba imra'an musliman," whoever backbites a Muslim man, woman. Of course, he says man, but man is not necessarily male here, means person. Batala sawmuhu wa nuqidha wudu'uhu. His fasting is void, and his wuzu is also broken, is void. Of course, not in the sense that fiqhi perspective requires that the wuzu or fasting are void. No, but it means that the spirit of fasting, that a spirit of fasting is more important than the form or cast of fasting. What gives taqwa? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. That taqwa needs both the form of fasting and the spirit of the fasting. The same as salat. You need to have the form of salat, and that's when you do the fiqh, bring the fiqh parts and conditions. But you should have presence of heart and taqwa. So, ghiba damages the spirit of fasting and wudu. وَجَاءَ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ يَفُوهُ مِنْ فِيهِ رَائِحَةٌ أَنْتَنُ مِنَ الْجِفَةِ. He would come on the day of judgment, while from his mouth a smell comes which is worse than a smell of a dead animal, a dead living being. To the extent that يَتَعَذَّى بِهِ أَهْلُ الْمَوْقِفِ. All the people who are there would be annoyed by this. So, even in dunya, it's good to keep distance from such people because they annoy. وَإِنْ مَاتَ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَتُوبَ. And if this person dies before he repents, مَاتَ مُسْتَحِلًّا لِمَا حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. He has died while he has permitted what Allah has prohibited. Means he's in a condition like kufr if he dies like this. Because what Allah says it is haram, he has said it is halal practically. In barzakh also this problem, not only on the day of judgment, even in barzakh. So there is a hadith that Anas says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مررت ليلة أسري بي على قوم. In the night of Mi'raj, I was taken by some people that they were with their, nails were injuring their faces. And I said to Jibreel, who are these people? And Jibreel said, these are the people who backbite people and get into the reputation and fame of people and their, heirs. So it is interesting that in this hadith, the analogy is that they are injuring themselves, because any person who is doing ghibah indeed is harming himself, not just harming the other party, he's harming also himself and damaging himself. Ishaq ibn Ammar in a hadith in Al-Kafi says, I heard Imam Sadiq quoting from Rasulullah, Ya ma'ashara man aslama bil-lisanihi walam yukhlis al-iman ila qalbihi, or walam yakhlis al-imanu. It can be read too. O group of people who have embraced Islam with their tongue, but they have not purified iman so that it reaches their heart, or iman has not been pure to reach their heart. Don't blame Muslims. لا تظلموا المسلمين ولا تتبعوا أوراتهم, and don't investigate to find out secrets of your brothers and sisters. فإن من تتبع أوراتهم تتبع الله أورته. Whoever investigates the secrets of people, especially secrets which are, negative ones or things which are not to be disclosed, God would investigate their own secrets. Means God is going to do the same with them on behalf of that Muslim. وَمَنْ تَتَبَّعَ اللَّهُ أَوْرَتَهُ. And if God is investigating and inspecting, يَفْضَحْهُ وَلَوْ فِي بَيْتِهِ. Even if he doesn't come out, somehow he will be disclosed. Especially today, you can see that you don't need to come out. People can disclose your secrets even if you are at home. So we have to be very careful. I would like to say something, Barakat. The focus in our hadith is here about Muslims, for example, or mu'min. And although our fuqaha normally say, for example, ghibah of mu'minin is haram, but I think it's not that ghibah of other people is not haram or it's not bad. I think the reason that the focus was on Muslims and mu'minin was because there was no other person involved at that time. So, they were all Muslims and they were just trying to say to your brother and sister, don't do this. So, I think, I'm not saying it's definitely haram from fiqh perspective, but at least I can say from akhlaqi perspective, it doesn't make difference. You do this even to a person of another faith or even a person of no faith. From a moral perspective, this is very bad that you do this to any person. But of course it becomes extra bad if you do it to a moral believer and a person who is trying to live a life of piety and respectfully, and has over years managed to live inside society in a way that he has respect. So this is good. This is to be appreciated. It's better than someone who doesn't care. The best is, of course, to have no bad thing which is secret. No negativity there. But at least if someone has managed to hide this, not as hypocrisy, no, because he has been careful about public also respect and doesn't want to give this impression that these are things that are normal. So no one should commit a sin, but if God forbid someone has committed a sin, it's better if it is in private and no one knows about it. Why others are trying to disclose this? it's not good for that person, it's not good for our own public interest if these things become, na'udhu billah, normal and people lose their sensitivity. Then he quotes hadith about how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is concerned about respect of people, especially but believers, but mu'min. Respect of mu'min is like respect of Islam, is like respect of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not saying it's the same, but it's very important. Even sometimes in hadith says it's hurmatul mu'min is more than hurma of Kaaba. Kaaba, if it is destroyed, can be built again. But hurmatul mu'min may not be able to be restored. So Imam Baqir alayhi salam in Al-Kafi has this hadith that Rasulullah again said, Lamma usriya bin Nabi. Imam Baqir says, when the Prophet was taken for Mi'raj, he said, Ya Rabbi, ma halul mu'min indak. My Lord, what is the condition and situation of mu'min in your sight, for in your view? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to this hadith, said, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, man ahana li waliyan faqad barazani bil muharabah. Whoever humiliates, insults, shows lack of respect, and disregards the respect, we can say it differently, of a friend of mine, a wali of mine, فَقَدْ بَارَزَنِي بِالْمُحَارَبَةِ. He has indeed appeared as fighting me. وَأَنَا أَسْرَعُ شَيْءٍ إِلَى نُصْرَةِ أَوْلِيَائِي. And I am the fastest in helping my friends, my awliya, my mu'mineen, my believers. So it's very, very bad if someone tries to damage the respect of a mu'min or mu'mina because he is showing enmity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, declaring war with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If he is lucky, he would quickly receive some punishment, some warning, so that he would wake up. If he's not lucky, he may not see something quick, but it may lead to real damage in his iman, so that may lose even his iman finally. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam also says that من اغتابه بما فيه فهو خارج من ولاية الله تعالى داخل في ولاية الشيطان. If someone backbites a mu'min with saying what is really there in that mu'min, it's not a false accusation, still he is going out of wilayah of Allah and guardianship of Allah and becomes under wilayah of shaitan. So Imam Khomeini says, if God forbids we have committed ghibah, we have to understand how bad it is, and we have to understand that ghibah originates from lack of iman, means our iman has problem that has not managed to stop us. And this ghibah by itself can weaken also iman. So weak iman leads to bad actions, and bad actions weaken more iman. Another problem with ghibah is that it is not only haqqullah, it is haqqullah as well as haqqun nas. It's also the right of people. And according to some hadith, then you need to ask Allah to forgive you and also ask those people to forgive you. Of course, here Maraj have different views. For example, if that person has not been informed, some say you don't need to ask for forgiveness. Some say you ask for forgiveness when that person is informed. There are different views. Some may say you don't need at all, so you have to check your marja, but I think at least if he's informed, you should ask for forgiveness from that person. And maybe if he's not informed or she's not informed, in a general way you can ask for halaliya in the way that doesn't show that you have done ghibah. But check your own marja and the fatwa relevant to you. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the hadith that Abu Zar mentions says, "Ya Abu Zar, iyyaka wal ghiba, fa inna al ghibata ashaddu min al zina." Ghiba is worse than fornication. قلت ولما ذاك يا رسول الله? Why? Then Rasulullah said, according to that, because لأن الرجل يزني فيتوب إلى الله فيتوب الله. If someone commits a fornication, not forcefully, of course, with the consent of the other person. Okay, they have committed a sin, but this sin is haqqullah. Suppose no one's right is, there. That woman was not married. No, nothing. Just two people made a sin, which is very, very bad. But ghiba is worse than that. We don't want to underestimate zina, but we want to say ghiba is worse than that. One reason is that it's not enough that this person asks Allah for forgiveness. Al-ghiba la tughfar hatta yaghfiraha sahibuha. The person that has been backbiting must be forgiven by the person that he has committed ghiba towards him. In another hadith, Rasulullah it is said that he was talking, he was giving a sermon, خطب يوما فذكر الربا وعظم شأنه. Rasulullah was talking about usury and talked about the great sin that is happening when someone takes or gives usury. But then he said, إن الدرهم يصيبه الرجل من الربا أعظم من 36 زنية. 1 dirham, 1 silver coin that someone gets from riba is worse than 36 zina. But then he said, إن أربى الربا, the worst type of riba, إرز الرجل المسلم, is to damage the reputation of a Muslim. So it's worse than riba. So riba is worse than zina, and ghiba is worse than riba in money. Another thing is that ghiba removes your hasanat. Rasulullah is quoted, ما من نار في إبليس بأسرع في اليبس بأسرع من الغيبة في حسنات العبد. Fire, when something is very dry, imagine you have dry wood or whatever, fire very quickly can burn it. Ghiba is not less quick, or you can say fire in something dry is not faster than ghiba in hasanat, in your good actions. So it means that it quickly burns and damages hasanat, na'udzubillah. And another hadith from Rasulullah is that on the day of judgment, a person will be brought and the book of deeds would be given to him. فَلَا يَرَى حَسَنَاتِهِ فِي. May Allah, inshallah, save us from this. He sees that he has no hasanat that he had done. None of his hasanat is there. He says, Ilahi laysa hadha kitabi. Oh Allah, this is not my book. La ara fihi hasanati. I don't see my hasanat here, so it must be for someone else. Then he would be said, Inna rabbaka la yadhillu wa la yansa. Your Lord does not go wrong or would not forget. ذهب عملك باغتياب الناس. Your action, your good action, your hasanat have gone because of ghiba. ثم يؤتى بآخر. Another person is brought, they give the book, and he sees there are lots of hasanat there. He says, oh Allah, this is not mine. It is good that this person also is honest, is not like a student that gets a high mark that he doesn't deserve, and sometimes they don't say. No, this person says, oh Allah, this hasanat don't belong to me. This is not my book. إني ما عملت هذه الطاعات. I didn't do these acts of obedience. but he would say, إِنَّ فُلَانًا اغْتَابَكَ فَدُفِعَ حَسَنَاتُهُ إِلَيْكَ. So and so has done ghibah of you, and hasanat of that person is given to you. May Allah save us from ghibah of people, doing ghibah of people and backbiting people. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said, أَدْنَى الْكُفْرِ أن يسمع الرجل من أخيه كلمة يحفظها عليه يريد أن يفضحه بها. The lowest level of kufr is a person hears something from his brother and then he preserves, he registers this so that one day he would damage his reputation with this. For example, maybe I said something in a meeting, I wrote something, anyway, someone hears this and keeps this for future to use it against me. أولئك لا خلاق لهم. These people have no, they would not enjoy the hereafter. They would not have any portion, any share. Once I think I might have told you in some of the lectures that the late Ayatollah Ahmad Mianaji, who was teaching us Dars Akhlaq, he said that in the beginning of revolution, because many people had different ideas, there were people who sometimes were not very religious, so many things being said. He said, I started collecting pieces of newspaper in which what some people have said, I would keep it for myself so that in future, if we need to know these people, if for example, if they want to become, this is my example, become member of parliament or whatever, we have the record of what they have said. He said, I did it for myself, but then he said, I told myself, no, this is not good because, referring to this hadith, hadith like this, he said, this is not good that I keep something so that in future I may, use this. Although he didn't want to damage any person, he just wanted to have these things, but still he didn't want this. As I said, his intention was good, but he said, these hadiths warned me that even for such reason, that in future, we can verify whether this person is qualified or not, I should not keep these things. And finally, Imam Khomeini says, we have to be careful that sometimes something is ghibah and other titles also apply, or sometimes something is not ghibah, but it doesn't mean other titles would not apply. So you have to consider different titles. For example, ihanatul mu'min by itself is bad, even if it is in front of the mu'min. It's not ghibah when it's in front of mu'min, but humiliating mu'min in front of him is also bad. Or for example, investigating is bad. Blaming, many times blaming also can be bad. So there are different things that we have to be very careful about. Anything that is about money of people, about rights of people, about reputation of people, we have to be very careful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah help all of us to be able to observe rights of each other inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.